As we are about to enter headlong into the Christmas season, I had a thought that occurred to me that I'd like to share with you. I was in the process of preparing my sermon for Christmas Eve. And I just, by mistake, I flipped to the page in the Gospel of Matthew where the author speaks about the death of the innocents. The death of the innocents is a story that's chronicled in the New Testament that describes Herod's response to the news that a king has been born. So Herod has an encounter with the Magi. The Magi tell them that they're there to go and see what this prophecy is all about. And Herod's people tell him about the prophecy and what the prophecy means, and that a new king, the King of the Jews, has been born. And Herod kind of loses his mind. He's terrified. And so what he does is, he tries to get the Magi to show him where this king is so that he can go and pay respects. But his plan was to kill him. His plan was to destroy this new king. And when the Magi don't come back to share with him the location, Herod orders the execution of every boy under the age of 2 years old in Bethlehem and its vicinity. We know at this point that, according to the story, an angel appears to Mary and Joseph and says, "Get up, take your son, and go to Egypt. You have to escape Herod." And so immediately they get up, they gather their family, and they take off to Egypt, where they live for several years until Herod's death. And then they come back and they take up residence in Nazareth. General, big picture, macro view of the story. So around this time of year, we'll often remind each other that Jesus was a refugee. Now, for most people, like for myself, for example, somebody reminds me of that, and I say, yeah, absolutely, Jesus was a refugee. So that reminds me that we should be welcoming to refugees and immigrants. For what it's worth, the Old Testament says exactly the same thing. We should welcome the alien among us. We should treat them as one of our own. It's all there. And yet, when it comes to refugees and immigrants, in our societies, there is a great deal of fear, and there's a great deal of animosity, and there's a great deal of resentment. Even though we may be Christians, not every Christian believes in being welcoming. And now there's usually two main arguments, that are really stressed about welcoming the immigrants and the refugees into our society. The first is that they're going to come and steal our jobs. Now, I'm not going to argue about the economics of it all. I have a general understanding of it. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm not an economist. I'm a practical theologian. So when we say something like, they're going to come and they're going to steal our jobs, we have to ask ourselves what exactly that means. Okay, what is it? So they're going to come and they're going to steal our jobs. And when they come and steal our jobs, we're going to lose our people are going to lose income, and they're going to have to live in poverty, and they're going to have to live in want, and we are going to have to provide a social safety net for them, in which case it's going to cost me more money. So it's going to come out of my pocket. Immigrant comes in, they take Bob's job, Bob goes on welfare, I have to help support Bob. That's not fair to me, that's not fair to Bob. Leave the immigrant, leave the refugee alone, leave them at where they were. That's the general argument. The sentiment to that is the refugee, the immigrant will come and it's going to cost me. We see a similar argument when it comes to the financial backing that a refugee will receive from the government of Canada to help them get on their feet while they're here. You're costing us money. That's money that should be spent on our veterans. That's money that should be spent on our elderly. That's money that should be spent in our schools. Bottom line, you're costing me money. You're costing me something. The second argument I see a lot of is they're going to come and they're going to change our way of life. They're going to bring their culture, they're going to bring their religions, they're going to bring their laws. And that's it, we're done, we're going to start living like they live. Now let's gloss right over the hypocrisy of that, given the fact that I live like a European in North America, and never in the course of my life can I honestly say that I've spent probably even a day living like an indigenous person would have lived 400 years ago. But we're going to be afraid that somebody's going to come and change our way of life. We're going to brush right over that, gloss right over it, and let it go. Again, the main sentiment here is it's going to cost me something. They're going to change something. My life is going to change. What was Herod's reasons for wanting Jesus dead? The same reason that he wanted Jesus dead is the same reasons that he ended up ordering the execution, the mass murder of boys 2 years old and under. And it's the same reasons we have today. It's the same reasons we express today of why we don't want refugees and immigrants coming into our countries. They're going to cost us. They're going to change our lives. Herod didn't want to lose his throne. He didn't want to lose his power. He didn't want to lose his wealth. He didn't want to lose his position. He didn't want to lose his stature. Herod was terrified that this new king was going to change his life. Herod was terrified this new king was going to cost him what mattered most to him. Herod might say, I did it for the kingdom. We might say, we're doing this for our community. It's not just about protecting us, it's about protecting our community. Herod was lying, and we would be lying too. Our fear of those souls coming to our country, they're coming for protection. They're coming because we've upheld our way of life as something to be admired, something that people should aspire to. And they come here for it. And our response is the same as Herod's. They're going to cost us. They're going to change the way we live. Egypt gets no credit in this story. All we know is that's where Joseph takes the family. And yet they deserve a lot. Because not only did Joseph and his family go there, they prospered there. They lived. He was able to provide a life for them. Egypt didn't get any credit because Egypt did what was expected of them. This wasn't a special thing that Egypt did. This wasn't something that the leadership in Egypt went, oh, we are being wonderful and loving and kind by welcoming in the Messiah and his family. Egypt just did what was expected in that day and time, to show hospitality. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, and I pray that you will always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. And I pray that as our friends and our family and as our neighbors, as the stranger down the street or the stranger across the ocean come to us for help, we will not respond to them the way Herod did, but that rather we would respond to them the way Egypt did, with hospitality and welcoming. Amen.